Hey, what's up, everybody? The V Club here, otherwise known as the Villain Club. Oh, yeah. I represent a matter of fact opinion that, you know, people really do agree, but they don't want to, verbally or put it out there to say it. So I say it for them because, we all know that we're all thinking alike. We all know about this, right? We're all on the same page. And that's what I'm here for, to kind of represent that voice, all right? Common sense. And common sense tells me that this whole thing with Kamala and trying to run for president is probably one of the worst decisions to prop her up. Because the more and more she's out there, the more and more she talks, the more and more she's just public. You learn and you see that she's just a terrible candidate. I mean, a terrible vice president too. But that's the thing, the whole thing about it. All right, so I guess the biggest, if you want to call it controversy, is that she just did a town hall. All right, and the host of the town hall is Maria Shriver. And oddly, well, I guess Heck's husband. Maybe that's maybe that's why she jumped her. Well, I mean, Arnold was Republican as ex-husband, Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? And I know that she's part of the whole Kennedy family, so the whole Kennedy family, lineage, right? Because she's, comes from that lineage, all right? Is that, it's a Democratic family, all right? Yeah, Schwarzenegger was an outlier because he's a Republican. And he actually ran for governor of California, if you guys don't recall, earlier in the century here, like in 2003 or whatever. So, Arnold did his thing. Um, so Kamala did a town hall meeting in Michigan, right? And I'm sorry, not Michigan, in Wisconsin, right? Because that's one of the battleground states. I think there's like 7 battleground states, and Wisconsin's one of them. Michigan's another one. And the whole thing about it is that, uh, Kamala comes off as always being scripted. She always needs to seem to know what questions are being asked, so that way she can answer the questions. She don't like the in-your-face questions, like, what, like for example, when she did the Fox News, right? And then you can see in the CBS News one, she was getting some pushback on the 60 Minute interview, and to the point where they were editing her responses because of all the word salad and all the stuttering and all that stuff that she was doing, which they try to cover up. So CBS has a lot of flack for that. And now you see what's going on here with this town hall. The question was asked just by a simple voter, and they try to play it off like, well, this, it's already preset, blah blah blah. But when you think about it, town halls are not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be an open forum for people to answer questions, right? If you look at past presidents, candidates that did town halls, there were a time when they were sitting side by side next to each other in a town hall meeting answering questions, from various people. And they would sit there and, answer questions. So to come here and to be like, well, it's here. Let's listen to what Maria Shriver has to say, all right? Because you'll see what I'm talking about.
We have some questions from the audience that we will get to. I have a few questions. As I said, I went around to meet several of you, and I heard some questions that some of you had. But universally, many of you said the reason I'm here is to see bipartisanship. I want to see what it looks like so I can go home with information. So you're going to get that, okay? So let's get going. So sit back, be comfortable. You're not, unfortunately. We have some predetermined questions, and hopefully I'll be able to ask some of the questions that might be in your head. I hope so. We have some questions from the audience that we will get to.
So you see that, right? Very beginning says, "Oh, we have some questions from the audience we'll get to," but then when she says they have pre-recorded or whatever questions, she said it right there, right?
So sit back, be comfortable. You're not, unfortunately. We have some predetermined questions, and hopefully I'll be able to.
So, when you see that, it's like, what kind of shit is that, Like, really, you know what I'm saying? And this whole thing about bipartisanship, just because you have, Liz Cheney, and you have, who's daughter of Dick Cheney, right? Dick Cheney is a former vice president of George W. Bush in the early 2000s. And we all know, as a neocon, they're a neoconservative, they're all about war, they're all about, things, odd things that's why they're called neocon, new generation of conservative, which is not, they're kind of a tweener, but they're not quite the MAGA type, right? Because it's kind of a split between MAGA and neocons, right? And we all know that Dick Cheney ran the show, all right, behind the scenes for George Bush, because George Bush proved that he wasn't as intelligent as he might look or think, and he showed a lot of buffoonery at the time, right? But we all knew that you could tell that Cheney called the shots behind the scenes, even though he tried to keep things low key and all that. But I don't think he was very well liked either, for being a Republican. Dick Cheney wasn't very well liked. There were decisions that was made by Bush that wasn't agreed upon, but the things were set in motion. It happened, right? And so that's what happened with Bush and Cheney. Liz Cheney has been so irrelevant. I think she tried to insert herself in somewhere. Probably, definitely doesn't agree with the all-America MAGA principles, right? Of just being an American, one country, United States, right? Forget about everyone else. That's what MAGA is, right? And so Liz Cheney is a neocon, right? It's just a break off of Dick Cheney. And there's a lot of neocons like Nikki Haley and stuff. But Liz Cheney is so irrelevant that she tried to put herself in, and that's why she hooked up with Kamala, all right, to make it look like a bipartisanship. But who cares, right? And no one cares about, deep down, no one really cares about Kamala, but she has to be pre-scripted with questions to answer. So, what kind of shit is that, all right? There's a couple of them I want to check into. Let's check out here. All right, we'll check this one out.
Kamala Harris.
See what's being said here. Try to get their take on things.
Hello, everyone. I'm Judge Janine Pirro, along
when you
with
really
Harold Ford
listen,
Jr., Jesse
it
Waters,
makes a lot
Dana
of
Perino,
sense
and
what
Greg
they
Gutfeld.
say.
It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five.
Right?
Two weeks to go, and poor Kamala Harris is all tuckered out. The candidate who likes to taunt Trump as exhausted is taking a day off from the campaign trail to prep for some pre-taped interviews with NBC and Telemundo. And that's not the only sign that Kamala is running on fumes. The vice president was out trotting out tired old attack lines about President Trump being the old threat to democracy, even though voters simply aren't buying it.
Donald Trump is an unserious man.
Unserious.
But the consequences of him being president of the United States are brutally serious. There are things that he says that will be the subject of skits and laughter and jokes. But words have meaning coming from someone who aspires to stand behind the seal of the President of the United States.
Same old stuff.
Kamala also apparently can't take the heat. Check out this moment when her town hall moderator, Maria Shriver, flat out admits that Harris will only take pre-selected questions.
Now, what kind of
So sit back, be comfortable.
Are we going to be able to answer questions?
You're not, unfortunately. We have some predetermined questions, and hopefully I'll be able to ask some of the questions that might be in your head. I hope so.
And while Kamala
Maria
takes a
Shriver's
break,
there,
hard-charging Donald Trump is making a mad dash to the finish line with appearances in 2 separate states. He's holding a rally later tonight in battleground North Carolina. And earlier, he held a roundtable with Latino leaders in Miami, where he took a shot at Harris's lackluster schedule.
I was going to hit her really hard on the trail today, but now I don't have to because she's off. She's off. No, I can't get over it. Who the hell takes off? You have 14 days left, and she'll take a couple of more days off, too. You know why? She's lazy as hell.
Okay, Jesse.
But
I mean,
Harris
2 weeks left to the
him
election.
Of being tired.
She's taking a day off, and she had the unmitigated gall to say on Friday that Donald Trump is exhausted, and 3 days later, she's taking a day off.
Well, she needs a day off to prep for the interview because she didn't prep for Brett, and she got smoked. Her team had to throw in the towel. And now she has staged Q&As, she has staged town halls. Everyone's trying to help Kamala, and Trump's trying to help you, the voter. And that's the difference. She's not taken seriously, her saying Trump's not a serious person. Obama doesn't take her seriously. Obama didn't want her. Obama wanted an open primary. The other coup leader, Nancy Pelosi, doesn't take her seriously. She wanted Josh Shapiro. And so Kamala is the least serious candidate out there. She's known for...
Josh Shapiro would have been at least a serious contender for, if not president, at least for vice president. It would have, I think, put Kamala in a better place, in terms of where she stands right now in polling and all that. And I'm sure Shapiro would have been a better representation of, the Democrat Party to have a stronger candidate than Tim Walz. So that's where they dropped the ball too. If Obama wanted an open primary, that would have paved the way for probably Shapiro, to be the top candidate on the Democrats. At the same time, okay, let's just say they stuck with the strategy, okay, we're going to prop Kamala. Well, Shapiro should have been the VP choice and not Walz, but hey,
laughing and not making any sense. And she talks about world leaders who she met, fine. Trump's met them all, and they're taking him very seriously. All of these world leaders are now scrambling to prepare for Trump's second term. There's plants closing in Mexico, preparing for the tariffs. The EU is already gearing up for a peace summit over Ukraine. Trump spoke to the Wall Street Journal editorial page the other day, and he said, well, China's not going to go into Taiwan because I'm going to hit Xi with a 200% tariff. And Xi would never go in because he knows I'm effing crazy.
Yep.
And that counts for a lot.
Dana, they're not even hiding it anymore. Maria Shriver actually comes out and says, you're not going to be able to ask a question. Unfortunately, we have predetermined questions. Hopefully, I'll be able to ask some of the questions that might be in your head.
Yes, and this is the same group that was complaining that Trump's McDonald's event was a staged campaign event. Like, okay, come on. Something's happening in the last 2 days. So this has a taste of 2016 to me. I heard today that the Kamala Harris people are floating and preparing the misogyny argument for if she loses. This is anecdotal. Being off the trail with the last 2 weeks to go and your closing argument, which was about we're not going back, it's exciting, there's joy. Now they're back to old reliable, which is he's dangerous and he's a problem for democracy. The polling shows that's not working. She's not talking about the economy. And now he's stolen all the joy, and he's having a good time. And so when you start looking at some of these early vote returns, Republicans are eating into the Democrats' early vote returns. That doesn't mean that there are more Republican votes than Democratic votes in the end, because that just might mean that Republicans decided to vote earlier than they would have on Election Day. So caution there. But if you are looking at momentum and who's winning, at the moment, it does feel like Trump is. And I'll add one other thing. There was a reporter yesterday, I can't remember the name, from Politico, and they had one story that said, Trump won the day. This is the headline. And the subheadline was, Trump won the day because he showed his trademark capacity to entertain and drive headlines on the campaign trail. We say that all the time, right? So this reporter from Politico got hammered by the left, from all the Obama bros, all the people from the campaign. It reminded me of when Joe Biden used to send out memos demanding more negative coverage about Donald Trump. And to me, it just has this feel of, if you're winning, you kind of feel like it and you have that wind at your back. It seems like to me she's like in this hard slog and can't figure out what works.
You know, there is some sound from Ian Sams. Maybe we can hear it, and then I'll come back to you, Harold, after the sound.
You just...
I'll take any questions.
I'm going to start with Erica Green at the New York Times. We're going to go to Colleen at the AP. We have time for one more. Andrea at Reuters. Right here.
Okay, so she says she's ready for questions, and Ian Sams is behind her dictating who she's going to take the questions from. So besides everything being orchestrated, he's even deciding who gets to ask the question, not her.
Good to be with you. Hope you had a good weekend. I watched this, and I listened to President Trump. The one thing I do agree with him on, with what he was saying a little earlier, was that I do hope that the campaign I support, that you can't take a day off between now and the next 2 weeks. You can't take a down day. You've got to be on the road. You got to be 3 or 4 events a day, and you got to try to get to 2 or 3 states. There's 7 states, 6 states that matter here at the end, and I think that voters want to see the candidates out on both sides. It's a great American tradition too. This is how candidates close. I don't think you can say that you don't think that the close that Vice President Harris is offering is one that is effective, and maybe it's not. She thinks it is. I think she looks at how she got in this race several weeks ago. And remember, before she got in the race, President Biden, in a head-to-head against President Trump, was losing outside of the margin of error in every battleground state. So she's closed. And I think to Dana's point, there is a back and forth here. I think the McDonald's heard some of the commentary around the table over the last few days. I thought that was a brilliant move on the part of President Trump. It counters and advances.
This is coming from a Democrat here. This guy's a Democrat, representation for this panel table here. And coming from him, he said that, that was a brilliant move by Trump with the McDonald's thing. Because, it shows a lot of different things that exposes Kamala with that move, such as, one, she never did the job, and 2, she wouldn't even come up with that strategy to even, come down and be part of the working class to show, hey, what's up, and say hi to everybody. How about that? Just something simple like that,
Counter some things that have been said about him and advances some things that he'd like voters to believe about him in these final days. But I don't think there's anything curious or wrong, or for that matter, surprising about the fact that Vice President Harris is saying to the country, because I think a lot of people in some of the polling data have said, even supporters of President Trump, have said, I'm not sure that I wanted to see an undisciplined Trump over the next 4 years. There's some people who are fine with it, and that is fine. I don't think it's problematic, though, or should that matter be thought of as strange, that she's trying to point out, do you want 4 more years of the kinds of things you hear from President Trump, even though you may like some of his policies or some of the things some of the outcomes? Do we want to have the tweets and have the social media and have the kind of name calling? Some people may say, I don't mind that. But for her to point that out, I think for her not to point it out would be malpractice on her part. And we'll have to see if this is what's most effective here at the end. And if it's not, President Trump will be elected. But if it is, she'll be elected herself.
All right. Greg, do you agree that she needs to take a day off to study, to tell the American people or ask them, do you want 4 more years of Donald Trump? She hasn't figured that one out yet?
First off, Judge, your hair looks amazing. Let's be honest. It looks amazing.
So smart.
No, it's true. Liz Cheney, however, she looks like a sad show dog.
Oh,
Did you see
you
her
wanna
up
talk
there?
about her?
She just looked absolutely miserable. She was hoping to have her dad's heart at that point. Look, Kamala can't speak off the cuff. She can't even speak on the cuff. If you stapled note cards to her cuff, she'd still be a flurry of poetry magnets. She's terrible. And she had the edge of being there with Maria Shriver. They both have a lot in common, a shared hatred of nannies. Arnold's nanny wasn't even a looker, but he had the baby. And now Joseph is a successful fitness model on the cover of Men's Health, who also appeared on Dancing with the Stars. But you would never know that if he wasn't born. One of those weird things we don't talk about. There's a conflict going on between the stigmatizer and the normalizer. The stigmatizing always increases. He's a threat to democracy. He's like Hitler, which we saw again this week, even though he was almost murdered because of that 3 months ago. As it's becoming socially cheaper to vote for Trump, that's the normalization. You're going to see more and more stigmatization. Admitting you voted for Trump 4 years ago could have been deadly. But because of notable people like Musk and Tulsi and RFK, the message to everyone else is the coast is getting clearer.
Think about that. That's crossing the aisle. Look at the Democrats that have crossed over. And that's crossing the aisle bipartisanship right there. From notable Democrats seeing how bad the Democrat Party is and crossing the aisle towards the Republicans, because that's the better side of things right now at what it represents.
Cost is getting lower. And as that cost to endorse Trump gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, you're going to see this stigmatizing force get more and more intense. Now, you look at like her endorsements, Lizzo, Stevie Wonder, Ben Stiller. It doesn't move the needle at all because there was no social stigma attached to her in the first place. So it comes off as predictable, lame, and cowardly. So I don't know where I'm going to go with this.
Because, like, no one cares about Ben Stiller or Liz Cheney, right? Like, and when you think about it, like, Ben Stiller's washed up. Whoops. Let me pull up the Cartier family. I saw the Cartier family here. Let me see if I can find that. Let me go
We
here.
have some questions from the audience that we will.
I saw the Cartier family. There we go.
That unlike my opponent, who got handed $400 million on a silver tray and filed for bankruptcy 6 times.
Oh, wow.
Most people don't have that access.
We're going to go to Colleen at the AP.
Hi, Madam Vice President. Do you think that Republican voters, and specific women voters, will be more likely to vote for you because of the fall of Roe?
We have time for one more. Andrea at Reuters.
Yeah. I'm here as a journalist, but I'm really here as a concerned citizen. And I'm really happy to be here. And so I know all of you are looking forward to hearing from both of these extraordinary women. They're both incredible. And so I want to begin by getting going. We have some questions from the audience that we will get to. I have a few questions. As I said, I went around to meet several of you.
And they asked the
so
president.
we already know what she
Wyoming.
said. Let's hear what they have to say.
These be the people that be saying Trump is a threat to democracy, and you can't even have the free choice to ask a question, to ask the president what policies or what things is actually going to happen to our country. And it's supposed to be a town hall.
Exactly. We can't have the school teachers as president, y'all. That's literally something your teacher tell you. I mean, we're trying to hurry up with this lecture, guys. If hopefully some of these questions that you have, we'll answer it. I'll answer it right now as I'm right here on the board.
This is a town, but like this is a town hall. People come up to the mic and ask a question.
All the town halls have been
exactly
scripted. The one with Oprah was scripted.
Like all of them have been scripted. I mean, it's extremely obvious. Everything Kamala does, where she does good, it's obviously scripted. Like she knows what the answer is beforehand. That's why the Call Her Daddy had such a bad reception to people, because it's all robotic and scripted.
The Oprah one was worse. They exposed her right there when they said, well, where's the guy? We have somebody with a question. Where is he? What? I mean, you weren't looking for him. You already knew where he was.
This is sad.
Like you weren't.
Oh, I didn't know that about the Oprah one. But anyhow, you guys see the opinion here. You guys see what's going on. Everything about her is scripted. If she doesn't do the script, then she or teleprompters, things like that, then she sucks. She's terrible. She can't even speak her own mind. She can't speak off the cuff, as they say. And what kind of shit is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be able to ad lib. You got to be able to just, like I said, speak to mind, and not have to rehearse, not have to be scripted, not to have all these different things at your disposal, just to be able to speak. And to me, we don't need a president like that. Because what are you going to do when you actually have to have meetings with foreign leaders and all that? You're going to try to say, hold on to me, can you guys give me what is going to be talked about beforehand, kind of like what you guys did with Biden? That way he knows what to expect at these meetings, and then I can prepare for it. Like, what kind of shit is that? This doesn't represent a leader, all right? As everything else that Trump has done, you can see that he is a leader, and the world's getting ready for it. Before we go, I want to check out the poly market, because the poly market is very interesting, which is the crypto market and betting market at the same time. Look at the poly market, Trump versus Harris. All right, this is where they bet, not necessarily crypto, but just in betting here. And so I'm going to go with this topic here. So they said that the poly market, and this has a lot of influence as well, right? In terms of what you think may happen, right? So Trump's poly market election odds is at 65%. All right. So that's pretty high that they're wagering, that their crypto based poly market gives Trump a 66% prevailing over Harris. All right. And this is as high as it was when Biden dropped his re-election back in July. So very, very interesting that it's, pretty much double, over Kamala right now as we speak. So very, very interesting what people's perspective is, right? That people are betting on Trump to win. That's just what's happening here. So very, very interesting. But anyhow, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. Subscribe. Hit the bell icon. And do you want a scripted president? Come on now. Really? I mean, there's just so many head scratchers and the word salads and all this other crap that she's been doing. Do you really need that? Besides all the terrible decision making, everything about her has been a fail, right? Border wall, the border security, inflation, all that stuff, right? Even though she was vice president, there's a lot of things she could do right now that she's speaking about. It's like, well, why don't you just do it right now? But she's not doing it. And things like that. So I just want you guys just to think about everything, all right? That's all I'm trying to spin here is think about everything. So other than that, comment down below and let me know what you think. It's all about anything and everything, and I'll see you next one.